Our first thought leader this year is Jason Mefford. Jason is a sought-after speaker, business trainer, and coach on ethics, corporate governance, risk management, compliance, and internal audit topics. And he still manages to make this interesting, I promise. He is currently the president of Mefford Associates, a professional training, coaching, and boutique advisory firm, and is also a Brian Tracy certified trainer and business coach. Jason has spent many years training and coaching top business professionals and is consistently rated as one of the leading experts and most effective speakers and trainers in the world. I think you're going to enjoy this. Please help me give a warm welcome to Jason Mefford.
All right, we're in Hollywood, right? And I won't make you decide whether I'm the good, the bad, or the ugly, because I think we already know which one that is, right? But since we're in Hollywood, I actually wanted to start with an LA story. I'm actually from the area, and a business acquaintance of mine came to LA, so I happened to be in town, and I offered to drive him around and show him the different sights. And we ended up at Santa Monica Pier, so if you're wanting to see something while you're here, here's a good thing as well. And so we parked at the pier, we got out, we started to walk up the stairs. And as we're walking by, we see a homeless lady with this huge roller suitcase. And if you're from LA, we see homeless people all the time. And so we often kind of ignore them. So I started up the stairs, and I turned around to see my friend pick up the suitcase and carry it for the lady up the stairs. Now, that example showed me something about my friend and his kindness and humanity, right? Something that I didn't know about him. Now, for those of you that remember this song, remember this? I always feel like somebody's watching me. Right? You remember that? Okay, if you feel that way, you should. Oh, hell no. Because everybody is watching you, whether you realize it or not. All of the things that we do and say, people are actually watching. Okay? It could either be for good, for bad, or for the ugly. And so we're going to go through and talk about that, how the decisions, the words that we say can either be seen as one of those three things. Now, I want to start off talking about this handsome man, Herbert Taylor. Now, Herbert Taylor has inspired millions of people, but nobody usually knows who Herbert Taylor is. So would you like to hear his story? Yeah. All right. Herbert was on the board of directors of a company called Club Aluminum. And if you were like me, actually we had Club Aluminum pans in my house growing up. But I didn't know the story, okay? Club Aluminum had gotten itself into some trouble and was actually at the point where it was bankrupt. Herbert was on the board of directors. And if you've seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life, you know, when George Bailey comes in and, George, if anybody's going to save the savings and loan, you've got to stay, right? That's what happened to Herbert Taylor. They said, if we're going to keep the company running, you think you can fix it? Go ahead. So he came in and he came up with what he called the four-way test. And it was a way for people to make better decisions because they'd gotten themselves into some trouble. So here's the four-way test that Herbert came up with. First one, then these were questions that his employees were supposed to ask themselves. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? So, as a result of that, right, the actions and the words that Herbert Taylor did, Club Aluminum turned itself around and actually was a very successful company for many years. But if you remember, I told you he influenced millions of people. Club Aluminum only had 250 employees. So would you like to know the rest of the story? Of course you would, right? Okay. Herbert actually went on to become a leader in Rotary International. And if you're familiar with Rotary, they use the four-way test, right? So it was adopted in the 40s, and if you've ever been to a Rotary meeting or you know somebody who's in Rotary, at the beginning of the week, you know, for their meeting, they stand up and they recite the four-way test. So Herbert's example and simple way of trying to make better decisions now helps millions of people all over the world. Okay. Now, if we're going to talk about the bad and the ugly examples, we need to talk a little bit about universal human values, okay? And universal human values, what are they? What do you think they are? It's what we should do, right? It's what we've all kind of agreed that we think are important things for us to do. Now, the experts disagree on exactly what they are, and we're just going to use these 5. But I want to see, by show of hands, how many of you think honesty, respect, responsibility, fairness, and compassion are important things? All right? Now, well, keep them up, keep them up. Now look around at who doesn't have their hand raised. Right? Those are the people you've got to be worried about, right? Okay, so, right, when we make bad, or when we are setting a bad example, we're actually encouraging people, right, to do things that are against these universal human values. When we do something ugly, it's when our actions and words are not consistent with those, and the other people that see us go, ugh, right? Do you ever get that feeling? You see somebody do something and you go, ugh, right? So imagine a couple of things, like a world-class athlete who embellishes a story about a robbery and loses millions of dollars of endorsement money. Ooh, right? How about a CEO that lies about his resume, lies about the education on his resume, goes through his whole career, and then is found out and he is fired? Ooh, right? Can you say it with me? Ooh, right? How about the head of a nonprofit organization that actually berates his employees and an airline employee in front of me? Right? He didn't know I was watching. But if you remember, we said that somebody is always watching, right? So again, those are some of the examples of what happens when we set a bad example, right? Now, it's important for us to think about that this is important for us as individuals, but also for organizations, right? And so let me just have you pretend, right? Imagine a large commercial bank that sets up incentives. You know where I'm going with this, right? Okay, it's been in the news a little bit later, not that I'm saying who it is, right? But at the end of it, over 5,000 people lost their jobs, right? And the company was fined $185 million. Now, the executive that was responsible for that part of the business, who normally earned $9 million a year, she's retiring with a $124 million package. Yeah, say with me, ooh, right? Ooh, right? So it's important for us to do this. Now, let me share a personal example with you here. We'll have to do this quick because I don't want to have to do big butts on you, right? How many of you rode the yellow school bus, right? Remember those green vinyl seats that we got to sit on, and it was nice for 2 people, but you really hoped you weren't the ones that had to have the 3rd kid slide in on you, right? So I was attending one of my high school reunions, and I introduced myself, and this man said, "I remember you. I remember an incident on the school bus." Right? He got on one of the last, and I didn't remember this, but my friend and I were sitting like this so nobody else would sit with us, right? And he still tries to squeeze himself in anyway. And so we just sit there and we let him slip off the seat as we're driving to school, right? Now, that was an ugly example and something I'm not proud of, right? Especially when he went on to tell me about how that was one of the low points in his life. And that actually led to some depression and other things. Now, that one example didn't do it, but I still felt horrible, right? So what do we do when we make those bad decisions, right? Well, we can go back to the Greek playwright, and I'm probably going to mispronounce his name because I don't speak Greek, right? I think Sophocles, right, says, "All men make mistakes, but a good man yields when he knows his course is wrong and repairs the evil." So that's what we have to do. When we make those bad decisions, when we set an ugly example, we have to try to change, right? We have to try to make better decisions. Now, you're probably saying, well, how do I do that? I've already shared it with you, and you didn't even realize it, right? But let's go back and look at Herbert Taylor's example. Is it the truth? Well, that's about honesty, isn't it? Is it fair to all concerned? That's about fairness. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? That's about respect and compassion, right? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? That's about responsibility and fairness. So what we all need to do to help us make better decisions is to figure out the values that are most important to us and design a similar decision-making process to be able to help us when we make those decisions. Remember Lee talked about cognitive dissonance? When those things happen, you use this to help you make the better decision, right? So, at the end, this is one of my favorite quotes of all time. Be the change you want to see in the world. And really, that's why I'm passionate about this. I really try to help individuals and organizations make better decisions, because as we make those good decisions, as we represent and model the good, the world changes for good, right? And that's really what we all want to do, right? We're all here to inspire people and to try to make the world a better place. So let's go out and do that by making better decisions. Thanks.
All right, big round of applause for Jason Mefford.